The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now, from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here are your hosts of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard and Taylor Welch.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for February 22nd, 2026. This is season 15, episode number 47, and episode number 561 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. And on this day, 46 years ago, the U.S. men's beat Russia in the Miracle on Ice game. And then, of course, just this morning, as Taylor and I are recording this here, Sunday evening, the USA men's kind of completed the sweep a little bit of Canada, as the women's just 2 days ago won gold. And now today, the men's have won gold for only the first time in Taylor's life, only the second time in my life. And a lot of young hockey players that are American born are getting to see something that I saw when I was 8 years old. They get to see it now at whatever age they are. And some of those include some of the Black Bears players, which is very, very cool. So congratulations to Team USA, both on the men's and the women's side of things. It's a very exciting day, and it's always great to be able to talk hockey. We love it. I love it. I know Taylor loves it now. Maybe she didn't realize she loved it a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, but she loves it now, getting to talk about hockey for all of you guys. But with that being said, I am your host, Bob Howard of the show, and she is
Taylor Welch.
Now, Taylor, you had to work during the gold medal game. You were checking in to see how they were doing. Obviously, you knew this was going to be a hot topic that people are going to be talking about for a long time, especially if USA won, which they did. Your thoughts on not only the women winning gold medal, but also the men as well against Team Canada, which is obviously, arguably, they consider it their sport, their passion, their life. Kids are born, put right into skates before anything else. And, you know, you've heard me talk to a lot of the players that are from Canada, a lot of the kids from the USA as well. Your thoughts on Team USA doing this today?
Honestly, it's all kind of pretty crazy. And I fully don't think I've wrapped my head around the whole concept of it actually happening. I've seen the video of the last goal and how crazy the sequence was leading up to it. And, you know, I saw the locker room aftermath and the whole chanting and just the excitement in that room, I think is enough to fill an entire arena and then some. But just overall, it's so interesting to kind of see how much hockey has changed. And, you know, because as you said, the first time it happened, I wasn't born yet, which makes me feel like I'm super young, but I also feel old at the same time. But it's so interesting because, you know, back then hockey was a Canadian thing. It was like a prime Canadian thing. Like that's where you wanted all your hockey players to come from. And now more and more, they're coming from all these different places. Yeah. And, you know, they're showcasing for it. And, you know, you're able to go in and beat in a Canadian team. And it's so interesting to kind of see like how much hockey has changed, but it's also stayed the same in the sense of like how much it like affects people and how invested people are in the sport itself.
Without a doubt. And yes, to our Canadian listeners who are listening to this show, I'd like to say I feel your pain, but we feel your pain every 4 years usually. And you guys usually win this. And this one was ours for the taking. It happened in 1960, it happened in 1980, and it's happened now. Only 3 times have the U.S. men's won the gold medal in the Olympics, which is pretty cool. Last year, they won the World Cup, World Championships, which was great as well. So USA Hockey, I've said on this show, Taylor, when you weren't part of the show, when you weren't even thinking about hockey at the moment, I talked to a lot of American Hockey League players who came from both America and from the U.S. or from Canada, and we talked about a lot of the progression Now we have a player on this team that kind of was raised in Florida, and that's Dominic Tomei. We've had guys from California. We've had guys. Wyatt Freelander was technically born in Atlanta, Georgia, right? There are players all throughout the country now. It's not just Minnesota and Michigan and Massachusetts and New York and Canada. It's now in North America. There are players playing in the NHL from Arizona and all these southern cities like Florida. And the reason that is because in 1980, something amazing happened. And the great thing that happened this weekend with the men's and the women's, there are more boys and girls that watched it that can say, I want to do that. And because of what happened in 1980, I truly believe this, Taylor. I wrote about this today, just a few hours ago in my day after game report. I truly believe that when the men's and the women's here in the U.S. have now won the gold medal, it'll do the same thing as what happened in 1980. And what I mean by that is that people will watch it, they'll talk about it. Young hockey players, whether boys or girls, are going to want to play. And because of that, we have some of the best hockey in single A hockey that we could ever have. And that without those two wins, this wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't be talking. We wouldn't be here right now talking about it. That's how impactful the 1980 Winter Olympics was for Team USA and for the progression and the growth of the hockey, because some of those people who maybe grew up in Minnesota, where a lot of the players in 1980 came from, or from Boston or in Massachusetts, where they came from, they all moved around all throughout the country, and they started developing USA hockey to become such a great tool. And if you think about it, players on our team like Dan Weber are a product of the 1980s, them winning it. Minnesota State high school hockey gotten so huge. Mac Jansen's another guy from Minnesota. And it just grew into something that was just so amazing. That's what these two wins for the men's and the women's this weekend is going to do for the next generation or two of young hockey players. And hockey today in single A, double A, and triple A is so much better now than it would have been if we didn't win back in 1980. I truly believe there's a link and a causation to how good the players are today. And what you see on the ice is a big product of what happened in 1980.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about hockey is that it seems to be the one sport that it continues to grow. You know, I feel like all the other sports, like, they're big in their own way, but they've always constantly been that size. Like, they don't, like, you know, NHL, it's kind of been the same size for a long time, and you have teams in certain areas, and that's kind of how it's always been. Where hockey, as you said, it's like it was, you know, the Canadians, and then you had like the northern states, like the Minnesota and Michigan and those kind of states. And now it's traveled down, and it's all over the place. And I feel like hockey is one of those sports that it's not staying constant. It's continually progressing and continuously getting bigger. Mm-hmm. Where, like, on the other end, for like one of the sports that, you know, Jeremy and I deal with is racing. And it's kind of becoming a dying breed, in my opinion, because there are so many racetracks that, well, now they're closed. And so it's getting less and less now, where you have to travel further and further to find a racetrack to go to, and to find one that's consistent or running every weekend and that kind of thing, where hockey's the complete opposite of that. And it's continuing to grow, and it's always, you know, there's always stuff happening, and it's, you know, it's developed into, you know, they do it all the time in the summer now. They have outdoor rinks everywhere now, and just all these places for them to practice. It's not just a simple, oh, it's just the winter thing. It's just in the northern states. It's just this. It's continuing to move and, you know, continuing to grow. And I think on top of that, I don't pay attention to a lot of other sports. It's not my forte. Like, I'm not a football fan. I'm not really a baseball fan. But for me, the fan interaction between, like, hockey players and the actual fans is something that I think is unmatched as well. And I think that's another great thing, because I feel like there are so many little kids that look up to these hockey players, mm-hmm. and I don't even know if they realize that.
Yeah, it's a unique relationship between hockey players and the fans. And I believe a big part of that is because of the relationship between the hockey players and their own family. And their family has to do so much to get these hockey players, even to single A hockey. Think about the things that Steve McAnanama or Rick Weber or Ryan Kirkby have had to do over the years, their families sacrificing and doing so much for those kids usually grow up and appreciate the people that do things for them so much. Billet families, which are the families that take in junior players when they're away from their biological families, they're with these billet families that really do create a sense of community within the sport that is greater than anything. And same thing with the booster clubs. When we talk about the Binghamton Black Bears Booster Club, which is one of the oldest booster clubs in the country, going all the way back to the Duster days and the beginning of that, these people realize that what they do to help these players is very important and impactful, and it really is. But the players appreciate that, and they show that appreciation back. And that is why hockey in certain areas of this country, certain cities, have always been the number one sport, because that engagement has been so good. Either way, I thought this weekend was great for obviously the development of USA Hockey. Whenever another city like Sweden or another country like Sweden or whatever, whenever they medal as well, it helps and it's very impactful within their country, building up players. So either way, I just wanted to start the show off by talking about that. I know I was messaging a couple of the fathers on the team, and they were very excited, obviously, for USA Hockey to win. But Taylor, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to this weekend. The team won 19 goals. I mean, I don't know if we can really talk about anything, but I mean, you go back almost 2 full years, I think it was, to the Mississippi series where they scored. It was like 9-1, 10-0, and then they played the Elmira team 8, and they won 8-1. That was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That was the most prolific weekend in Binghamton Black Bears history. The Black Bears, if they had a third game this weekend, they might have been able to catch up with that and compete for that title.
Yeah, and the craziest thing about this weekend is if you didn't know any better, you would have never known that the Black Bears were playing down without, you didn't have Dan Stone, we didn't have CJ Stubbs, we didn't have Gavin Yates, and we didn't have Mac Jansen for Saturday. So that's 4 players that we were down. I mean, we signed the college rookie, so that, took care of one spot, but still, we were down X amount of players, and you never would have guessed it.
By the way, I'm so screwed with Sam Holy because I've already written his name as Sam Holyfield because of the fight once. I know I'm going to slip up and I'm going to say Holyfield instead of Holy a couple times. But yes, that I think you make a very valid point. And it wasn't just one game that we were down. I remember the game last year or the year before. We went to Danbury and like 7 of our starters sat out. And we just played a bunch of college rookies, right? And we still won the game. Everybody thought, oh, this is a game that Danbury's going to win, right? But we won the game. This time, Mac Jansen couldn't even play on Saturday. So there's another guy we're down. So we were down 2 regular spots, roster spots, plus the guys that were out. So everybody who could suit up did suit up. And we still won both of those games. Now, does that tell you that the depth of this team is just that great? Or is the preparation that the coaches put in place that so much important to them being successful? Like, can it be one or the other? Or does it have to be both?
I truly think it's both. I mean, if you look at the Black Bears and, you write the stats every time we go over the games and stuff about who the leaders are. And, at the top of that list almost every time is CJ Stubbs, Ivan Bondarenko, and then Gavin Yates, because Gavin Yates has been so great on the special teams.
Yeah.
So, you take 2 of those guys out of the equation and, they're like, 2 of our top goal scorers. And even Mac Jansen's thrown in there. He's been a top goal scorer for us. And so we have 3 guys out for Saturday at least, because, Jansen did play in Friday's game. But, you have these 3 guys that, if you look at any Binghamton game, you're like, they probably scored just because that they've been so consistent on it. And then you get a game like this where we're down and, you have all these other guys who are going in and stepping up and, making the goal count, and they're getting those goals.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly think that it has to be a combination of both, in my opinion, because I do think that the depth on this team is unmatched compared to the other teams. But at the same time, you got guys like Jacob Shankar, who's going out there on a breakaway and scoring, and he did a phenomenal job there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, it's the first year for him. And then, you've got Emerson Emery, who does, he's laying big hits. He's making a difference in the game. And then you've got, newcomer Sam, who's out there fighting in his second game. And, he changed the complete momentum of the game and kept it on our side. And it's been crazy to kind of watch, this weekend unfold with these guys, stepping in and basically taking the spot of CJ Stubbs and Gavin Yates, because somebody's got to get goals.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. All right, so I want to get into some important stuff first. So let's go right into the must-reads. The Power Play Post is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on your favorite app, and please don't forget to subscribe. Join the conversation on Facebook. Search for the Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. Looking for everything Binghamton Hockey? Visit binghamtonhockey.net. And coming up on this episode of the Power Play Post Show, Binghamton Black Bears forward Nick Swain, he answers 6 more questions. Now, I'm going to let you read the next part, and then we'll get started.
The Power Play Post Show relies on your support to grow. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and like the episode. Those actions help YouTube recommend the show to more hockey fans, expanding our reach and supporting future content. Subscribe and like to help the show continue moving forward.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to get into was the reason why I didn't write about the game on Friday like you did. You wrote your Impact Players Report. Excellent job. Both days, great work. You talked about hockey and the things that happen in the game. And again, you keep getting better and better and better at that. So that's awesome. And that was for the fans. Saturday morning, the day after game report, was for me, because I get very angry about when stats are not done properly. They're not talked about properly. And I get angry at myself when I screw up a stat, or if I misunderstand how a stat should be recorded or put down, like power plays and penalties and things of that nature. That drives me bonkers. And then I'll go down a rabbit hole trying to figure it all out for like an hour and a half and, pretty much mess up my day. It was really bad on Friday. And it is something I want to talk about because there's an importance to why this is important. Now, granted, the league stats don't mean shit to the Black Bears. And what I mean by that is they have a stat program called InStat. InStat is something where there's a computer program that basically watches all the games, and I believe there are people that monitor this program that watch all the games for the Black Bears, and it creates an InStat report that is sent to the Black Bears for John Quinville and for Brant Sherwood to use. Brant has showed me this a little bit. In his office, he's kind of let me see a little bit of it, but it's not made available to the public. It is something that the Black Bears do pay for. Other teams also use this as well. Teams all throughout the minor leagues use it, and I believe even the NHL probably uses it to a degree, or some people do. Maybe scouts use it, whatever. But so it's not important to them, but it should be important to the league to have the correct stats on websites. And it starts with the on-ice officials. So Taylor, the on-ice official, let's see here, CJ Stubbs and Ivan Bondarenko and Tyson Kirkby are on the ice, and they're skating into the zone. Tyson sends it to Ivan. Ivan sends it to CJ. CJ scores the goal, right? So the goal is CJ Stubbs from Ivan Bondarenko and Tyson Kirkby. There's your 2 assists, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the head official who sees the goal being scored goes over to the PA announcer, which is an on-ice official or an off-ice official, relays the information to him, all right? 23 from 49 and 17. That's it. Writes it down. Somebody sitting there enters it into the computer system. There you go. Apparently in Watertown, I don't know, either the referee wasn't relaying the right information to the off-ice official, or the off-ice official was entering it in incorrectly. It never got fixed. It still isn't fixed. At this moment, as we record some of these numbers, and we're going to go over this because I think it's important, because in some cases it took away a hat trick from somebody, it took away a goal from a player, the assists are all screwed up. Taylor, I don't know when you did this, but you put together the list of who actually scored versus what the league reported. Why don't you read through that? This is Friday night. This is even before we start talking about the game. But why don't you go through that?
So the controversy for the goals and the assists. So the first 4 goals from Friday night's game were scored correctly. So you had Tyson Kirkby from Austin Durazio and Ivan Bondarenko. You had Emerson Emery from Austin Durazio and Dan Weber. You had Jesse Anderson from Ivan Bondarenko and Tyson Kirkby. Then you had Scott Ramakers from Dan Weber and Emerson Emery. Now, good for
M getting 2 points there in the first 4 goals. I love that. I do. No, I love it.
Now, the next goal on the league site is Austin Durazio from Jacob Shankar and Kyle Steffen. And it should be Austin Durazio, Garrett Sargis, and Kyle Steffen. And the funny thing is that looking at the game sheet, they don't even have Sargis as being on the ice during the goal. Yet he's the one who makes the pass near the top of the blue line across the ice to D-Raz, who then shot and scored.
How funny is that? And that's the other thing I've seen a couple times when I've gone to look at the on ice, because it's a little drop down menu, right? You a little arrow, you click on it and gives you who's supposed to be on the ice. They didn't even know who was on the ice.
Yeah. The next goal also messed up. So the league site has Austin Durazio, Nick Swain, and Cam Cervoni. And it should have been Kyle Steffen's first goal, Nick Swain, and Garrett Sargis.
Yeah.
So that one is almost completely messed up, aside from Nick Swain getting the primary.
Yeah.
Again, another assist that should have gone to Sargis, as he was the one who took the face-off, won it back to D-Raz, ended up with the puck as he whacked at it, got his own rebound, sent it to Swain, who cut across lens before passing it back to Steffen, who had a wide-open net. So outside of touching the puck after the face-off, Durazio was not a part of the scoring sequence, yet they gave him the goal.
Right. Okay. Carry on.
The next 2 goals were fine. So Jacob Shankar, as we've already kind of mentioned, he had his breakaway goal. Obviously, just Jacob Shankar. If they messed that one up, I would have been a riot.
Yeah, but okay, keep going.
Then Kyle Steffen had his second goal with Austin Durazio and Ivan Bondarenko. Now, the next one is probably one of the most interesting ones of the game, as they once again messed up the scoring. It was late in the second when Klink tried to go for a breakaway, but after a great recovery from Weber, Bondarenko set the puck to Chicho Laughlin. I'd like to say that again.
Yeah.
Chicho Laughlin, who skated into the zone, allowing Weber to cut through the middle. Chicho sent the pass to Weber, and it went 5-hole and trickled in. It was that goal that slowly crept across the goal line.
Yes.
So it should read Dan Weber from Chicho Laughlin and Ivan Bondarenko, and it reads Nick Swain from Dan Weber and Ivan Bondarenko.
Wait, which is funny because Cheech played a part in 2 goals on Friday night.
And he didn't get any assists.
No assists the whole weekend, right? So, I mean, he's one of 2 guys that didn't get any points this weekend and should have.
And he should have. So as we just kind of mentioned, he should have had an assist in the last goal, which should have read Kyle Steffen, Ivan Bondarenko, and Chicho Laughlin, but instead says Kyle Steffen, Ivan Bondarenko, and Nick Swain, as Chicho was the one who took the puck in the neutral zone before passing it to Bondarenko, who tipped it to Steffen, who then, of course, scored.
It's crazy. Now, why does this matter? Okay, so first of all, I looked at the stats. I wanted to put together the stats for the whole weekend. It's pretty amazing. First of all, the only 2 people that didn't get any points at all this weekend was Mac Jansen and Chicho Latham. Sam Hawley did have an assist in Saturday's game when he also had a fight as well. And then everybody else either had a point or a goal or something to go with it. It's a sick amount. We had 19 goals on the weekend, 35 assists, and 54 points. This is all important because as we've already mentioned, the team was missing 3 or 4 of its important guys. This team stood up and said, nope, we're not going to lose because we don't have those guys on the team. Tyson, as the captain, he had 7 points in this game, 3 goals and 4 assists. Durazio should have had 2 and 6 for 8, but had 3 for 5. Ivan Bondarenko had I know we'll talk about this, but Ivan Bondarenko had 5 assists on Friday night's game. He literally contributed on 50% of the goals. Crazy. So these numbers are all great, right? And they had 54 points, the total. Why is this conversation important? Why does this all matter? And I believe it comes down to the integrity of the game. So fans don't have access to the in-stat, right? Which is going to be correct. What Brant Sherwood got Saturday morning from Instat or Sunday morning from Instat about the Saturday game, that's all correct. But the fans don't get that. The fans don't get to go and look at something that is correct because it was professionally done through a video system. No, they don't get that. The stats keeping on the Fed website is wrong. It's just going to always be wrong. People look at it for analytics. And then there's record keeping, right? How can you really say who has what record when you can't trust the system there? And for me as an historian, Taylor, and this is the important one to me, I look at this stuff, and I've been trying to keep stats for the Binghamton Black Bears this whole 5 years, and it's like I know that Dan Weber had that goal. But if I include that goal on my record keeping and then someone goes and compares it to the official stats, which is on the league website, it's going to be off. Same thing with the hat trick. People can go to that and go, well, he didn't have a hat trick. He only had 2 goals. I could say he had a hat trick and I could put that in there and there would be a discrepancy. So unfortunately, when the league goes final and it's a final and they don't change it, which drives me bonkers because they'll change a penalty 36 hours later to kind of fit their mission to suspend CJ Stubbs, but they won't go back and change these stats. Dan Weber's already been screwed once on an assist that he should have had. We all know that. The perfect game. The game that we talk about all the time is the perfect game. Didn't get the assist on there, even though we know. And we know that Frank Perney reached out to me from the Black Bears and said, we put in for it. We put it in there. They didn't update it. So that's a league thing right there. Second thing is, when we're looking at this, like, it feels so Bush League. This is 2026, boys. You should be able to do this the right way. Taylor, am I going crazy overboard about this? Because I know I was attacked by a couple of people that said I was. Do you think that this matters or it doesn't matter?
I definitely think it matters, and I don't think we're going overboard with it. I mean, we let the assist go for the Dan Weber thing. We let that go. It was, yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, we were upset by it, but we eventually let it go. It was one mistake. As you said, Frank Perney said they put it in there. They never changed it. It was one thing. We were just like, it's obviously not going to change. But to have a game where you have 10 goals and 4 of them you messed up on, that is a crazy number. If it was just, they messed up somebody's assist, probably just brush it off, and not a huge deal. But 4 of them in one game is insane.
It is. It really is. And here's the thing that drives me nuts, and we'll kind of finish with this, and so we can get into the first game and talk about that a little bit more, even though some of the stuff we're going to say is untrue, folks. But we'll try to tell you that it's untrue. But this is how we had to write it up. This is how the Black Bears had to write it up. This is how Jeff Barrett from the Wolves wrote it up for Friday night. He wrote up the wrong goal scorers. We have to write it up that way because that's what the league said. But that's why we wanted to start off this segment with giving you the right information. The fact that Taylor spent an hour or 2 going through the video and recording this information and getting this information correct.
Okay, well, that's giving me too much credit. It really did not take that long. We watched the game, and as you can keep up online pretty easily with Watertown about who's got the goals, and we're like, well, they gave so-and-so the goal, but it was definitely this person.
Yeah.
So all I did was I went back and I slowed down the YouTube feed.
Yeah.
So as it, the normal playback speed is 1. I went down to 0.25 and watched it in that slow motion to make sure that I had the correct numbers that I was looking at.
It takes
and
time.
Hearing Brooks and Cole talking very slowly the players' names. Yeah. I was like, it didn't take very long, but I was like, I made sure that I had my numbers right because I was like, it can't be that hard to figure out who was on the ice and who had the puck. And it really wasn't. It did not take me very long at all. I couldn't believe because I thought it was only 2 goals. I thought it was the Kyle Steffen one and then the Dan Weber one.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there were 2 more.
That had incorrect assists.
Right.
To me, here's the thing. When I covered the American Hockey League for 11 years, we never had this issue. Never had this problem. There were meetings between the on-ice and the off-ice officials after the game, and they would pull out their little notebook, the referee would, and he'd be like, all right, it was 17 from 49 and 23. Okay, good. You guys got that in there. Perfect. All right. They did all this before they ended it. So if they did that in Watertown, if they went through that process where the on-ice and the off-ice officials met and discussed that means the referee that night was so incompetent, and we go back to the referees here, so incompetent on what they were doing that they had no idea that Dan Weber was on the ice and shot that goal. Because let me tell you right now, I jumped up. Well, I'm not going to deny the fact that I'm a Dan Weber fan. He's going to be on the show, by the way, this week, which is pretty cool, right? This upcoming week to talk about playing as a forward. I am a Dan Weber fan. I'm sorry, folks. There you go. I'm a little biased. Whatever. But my point is, though, is you cannot deny that was him shooting the puck. He's 6'1". All you have to do is keep track of the number. Go over to the on-ice person, off-ice person, and say 6'1". Is there any other number that looks like 6'1"? I mean, upside down, I guess, is 19, maybe.
Well, and they couldn't even confuse him with Stubbs because he wasn't even there.
Right. Well, okay. Now, to be fair, they don't look like each other right now, but they did when Stubbs came in last year. Never gonna freaking live that down. Never gonna live that down.
No, you're definitely not.
Okay. So I think it's important. I think they could have done it. I know in the AHL and the higher leagues, they definitely have a system to make it right. And, you know, if it comes down to that the Black Bears have to send in a change request, like this is a freaking construction site. Oh, we got to put in a change order. Nope, they want to change that from a metal wall to a concrete wall. Oh, really? Oh, crap. Oh, there's a lot of paperwork involved in that. Maybe we shouldn't even do that at all. Oh, okay. All right, great. That's what it comes down to. They got to put in a change request to get this corrected, and they shouldn't have to. The league should want to do this, but for some reason, it's okay for them to say, well, we can't change goalie stats after this. The thing has gone fine. Oh, but we can change penalties. We can do that 36 hours later just to suit we want to suspend the guy. I'm telling you right now, guys, that makes you look like fools. It makes you look like idiots. It makes the league look Bush League. If you're listening, you're Bush. That's what it comes down to. And honestly, nobody likes Bush. They like Budweiser. They like Coors. That's what they like. They don't like Bush. Sorry. All right.
Well, hey, if the Black Bears needed any, of the evidence to go, if they really wanted to do this but didn't want to do the work, I already did the work. Just, send them my way. I'll give you all the info you need.
I love it. All right. So let's try to get through this game from Friday night.
Black Bears defeat the Wolves in Watertown 10-4 on Friday night, February 20th, 2026, Watertown Arena. Game 41 of the season, Binghamton Black Bears at Watertown Wolves. The night could not have started much better for the Binghamton Black Bears as they jumped on Watertown early and never left their foot off the gas in a wild opening frame. The Black Bears opened the scoring at 6:14 when Tyson Kirkby parked at the top of the crease and buried a loose puck into the open net, finishing a play set up by Austin Durazio and Ivan Bondarenko to give Binghamton a 1-0 lead. Just 31 seconds later, at 6:55, the visitors struck again from nearly the same exact spot.
Crazy.
Emerson Emery cleaned up another chance in tight for his 3rd of the season, again with Durazio involved along with Dan Weber, quickly doubling the lead to 2-0.
Now Taylor, it was crazy how they scored the first 3 goals. The next one you call from almost the same exact spot. They were on the right side of the crease, and it was just open every time.
Yeah, and I think another interesting thing was I think the next shot after that, I think it was on the opposite side. And so Jeremy's immediate response to me was, well, he's obviously got a weak side and it's not his glove side.
That's funny and true.
Binghamton kept pressure rolling midway through the period. At 11:36, Jesse Anderson beat the Wolves goaltender glove side. See, it does happen, but it's not his weakest side.
No.
Off a setup from Bondarenko and Kirkby, making it 3-0. The offensive surge continued at 3:15 as Scott Ramakers finished a feed from Weber and Emery, stretching the lead to 4-0 and forcing Watertown onto its heels. Late in the period, the Black Bears poured it on even more. At 17:49, Austin Durazio converted a pass from Jacob Shankar and Kyle Steffen to make it 5-0. And with just 25 seconds remaining, 19:35 of the period, Kyle Steffen struck off a rush started by Nick Swain and Cam Schiavone, pushing the game to 6-0 blowout. No, the goal that was scored by Kyle Steffen was credited to Austin Durazio incorrectly, as we've kind of already talked about a little bit.
Yes.
Watertown managed a response before intermission. Off the ensuing rush, Quinn Chevers scored with 11 seconds left at 19:49 from Trevor Newman and Chase Tabari, finally putting the Wolves on the board and sending the teams to the locker rooms at 6-1 for Binghamton.
Amazing, too, because I don't even think I have the assists correct through my write-up. And I want to say this, though, Taylor, and I know we're harping on this a little bit. At least I am. All throughout Saturday's game, they were changing the assists and getting everything correct. It was crazy, right? I would go and look at the score sheet. Oh, they have this person scored. And the one thing I think you noticed during the game on Saturday, weren't the Black Bears players specifically going through making sure that the person who scored the goal went through the line first?
That I'm not entirely sure, because usually when they were scoring, I was writing in my notes, so I didn't pay too much attention to who was leading the line. But I mean, for the most part, whoever scored is leading the line. That's typically how they do it.
Yeah.
That's usually how you can tell. You're always like, oh, I'm not entirely sure who scored that if they're on the other end of the ice. And then you just watch who's leading the line. You're like, oh, okay, it must have been him.
Yeah, you're watching Kyle Steffen go with his beautiful flowing hair. And you're like, oh, it was Steph. Okay, all right, good. All right. Scratches in the game with C.J. Hapworth, C.J. Stubbs for suspension, Gavin Yates for suspension, and Sirota is still in Peoria. Starters, Garrett Sargis, Kyle Steffen, Nick Swain, Jesse Anderson, Scott Ramakers, and Dominic Tumay. Rookie defenseman Sam Holy makes his debut in Watertown for the Black Bears and was paired up with Cam Servone. Interesting in the triple S line of Sargis, Steffen, and Swain and how these guys would play. How did you think that they played Sargis and Steffen and Swain together?
I really enjoy them. And I feel like, I've seen Swain and Steffen, and they're very similar in how they kind of do things. And I think kind of throwing Sarge in there just kind of, it really puts a foot down on how talented that line is. Because if you watch Swain, I know he's a lot younger than some of these other guys who have been in this league for a while or have played in other leagues.
Right.
But Swain has the ability to not only make similar plays as some of these guys, like some of these veteran guys especially.
Yeah.
But also has the ability to keep up with them and kind of like read the same play that they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I truly think that Swain and Steffen alone, just those two together, it's unstoppable in my opinion.
Yeah, and I like that Sarge just brings a little bit more grit to that line, which is pretty cool. So Wolves get a huge break, a chance. Corgan hit the post. May then lost his stick and had to retrieve it. That was an interesting part of the game. Black Bears take the game's first penalty at the 3:38 mark of the first period, and a Durazio slashing call. Black Bears score too early from the same place on the ice on the glove side of Matt Lenz. Dan Weaver did not get an assist on the Emery goal, but played a big role in the sequence that led to Emery's goal. That's another thing that I noticed throughout the whole weekend was that Dan Weaver was making plays. Like, it's weird to me, and I'm going to talk to him about it this upcoming week, Taylor. I find it very interesting that you put Dan Weaver in a more of an offensive position, yes, as a forward, as a center, and we started to see things that maybe we didn't see on a regular basis. I'm hoping that when he goes back to playing defense, it inspires him to know that he can do some of those things, and that hopefully, now I don't want him to stop being a great defense, D-man. He is a very good D-man. He is one of the better shutdown D-men on our team. But I also want to see him kind of continue to move and carry the puck with the same confidence he had this weekend.
Yeah, I think a couple of the other fans, noticed how well he was playing, dressed as a forward and on top of that as a center as well. I mean, there was even a couple comments where people were like, he should be a forward. Like he did such a
Yeah.
phenomenal job. So it was definitely interesting to kind of see that side of him, and being that it's not something that he naturally does on, a game to game basis. How just seemingly easy he fit the role and how well he actually performed, I think just goes to show, as we kind of mentioned earlier about the depth on this team, is you can truly take so many of these players and plug them in where you need them. And that you're going to get them to perform and that you're going to get their best ability out there on the ice, no matter what role they're in.
It's crazy to think that I've mentioned that so many times in the past couple of years, right? You can plug one guy into a role and it just seems to work, right? That Sherwood has that part of the game figured out, where a lot of coaches don't have that figured out. They don't know how to get the one player to go and fit into a certain spot and get him to work. But Sherwood has figured that out, and we saw that this weekend with Dan Weber. A couple turnovers for the Black Bears in the first 10 minutes of the game, but a great recovery by the team. I think we don't necessarily see that completely 100% in the third period in both games, but they were shorthanded, so we have to give them a little bit of leeway on that. Tomei made a huge glove save with a minute left to go in the period. What a first period. I mean, the first period was just great. The Black Bears scored 6 goals in the period. 2 are credited to Austin DeRazio, but Kyle Steffen skated first to the bench. We'll check to see if that changes. It never did. I'm never happy when a team gives up a goal in the last minute of the game. However, 6 goals with the Black Bears beforehand, we can let that one go. But man, that always just gets my skin to crawl a little bit when I see that. No power play opportunity for the Black Bears, but they did kill both the penalties that they took. So obviously Watertown was 0 for 2. Shots on goal, Binghamton 13, Watertown 12, which was interesting that Watertown was able to, even though they gave up 6 goals, on 13 shots, they were still able to generate 12 shots on goal, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that just kind of shows that, I think it does show that Binghamton was shorthanded, because I couldn't remember the last time that Watertown was able to kind of keep up with the amount of shots on goal that Binghamton was making.
It's true.
Binghamton kept rolling in the middle frame, continuing the offensive avalanche and putting the game well out of reach. The Black Bears struck first again at 8:44 when Jacob Shankar broke free on a clean breakaway and finished it himself for his 7th goal of the season, extending the lead to 7-1. Watertown attempted to slow the momentum, but penalties proved costly after Yefim Mishkin was called for tripping. The Black Bears capitalized on the power play. At 14:30, Kyle Steffen stepped into the slot and beat the Wolves goaltender Jaden Lee, who had entered the game in relief and was making his professional debut. The goal, assisted by Ivan Bondarenko and Austin DeRazio, pushed the score to 8-1. Binghamton wasn't done before the horn. With 1:14 remaining at the 18:46 mark, Dan Weber added his 3rd of the season to cap another dominant period and give the visitors a commanding 9-1 lead after 2 periods. And again, note, this goal was credited to Nick Swain incorrectly.
Exactly. And obviously there are assists that I probably have wrong because it was wrong, and you had to go back and review that like you actually were working up there for some reason, but you weren't. You didn't go there until the next night. That's why it was all correct on Saturday night, because you were there.
Yeah, sure. Just giving me all the credit.
They knew that the Power Play Post Show was there in person, and they were like, well, we can't F this up right now, right? The PPP show is in the house. All right. The Wolves.
They didn't want me to call them out, is what they were afraid of.
Yes. To start the second period, the Wolves did pull Matt Lenz and replaced him with Jaden Lee for his first, for the start of the second period. And of course, it was his professional debut. And I thought Jaden Lee Taylor coming in after a team has already scored 6 goals. And yeah, he gives up 4 goals, right, in the game. But I still feel like it could have been a lot worse for a rookie to come in knowing that the team you're going against is red hot with the stick.
Oh, yeah, it definitely could have been a lot worse. I think he, for his first game, and especially a first game against a team like the Black Bears, I think he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. In the first 7 minutes of the second period, the Wolves had a 7-shot goal lead. The Black Bears get their first power play of the game after Chase DeBrari's slashing call at the 9:38 mark of the second period. We see that so often against the Black Bears. People are so afraid to take a penalty, and it probably hinders their play a little bit because they can't be as aggressive as they want to. but I can't tell you. I think it's been like 5 or 7 times this year, maybe 6 times, somewhere in that range, where a team against the Black Bears does not give up a penalty until the second period. And I think that's really impressive. They're trying to not play into what the Black Bears are good at, which is, of course, scoring power play goals. Black Bears score on their second power play opportunity. Kyle Steffen's second goal of the game, or first goal, I don't know. Black Bears may have scored 6 in the middle frame, but dominated a lot of the play in the period, and May had made a lot of great saves. Great to see Dan Weber get a goal in his first forward start. It was great that he scored the goal. It would have been greater if he was credited with the goal. Jacob Shankar has now scored a goal in each of his last 4 games. By the way, he continues that the next night, scoring 5 goals in those 4 games. I wrote about it this afternoon about Jacob Shankar. I think right now on this team, he is one of the most complete players we have. He's good 2 ways. He will drop the gloves. He will lay the big hit. He's scoring and he's getting assists. Taylor, tell me I'm wrong.
I can't do that. I was just going to add to it, honestly. He's kind of like that pass. Like if you took Tyson Kirkby and Zach Sirota and rolled it into one person, you got Shankar.
Yeah, I agree. Power play. And he's got a good shot. Okay. Now, this is going to sound like I'm dissing Tyson because Tyson gets a lot of his goals in front of the net. Jacob Shankar has a shot on him. He can shoot from the top of the dot, top of the circle, and get goals. That's why I think he's really a complete player right now for this team, and he can only develop into a better player. Power play opportunities, Binghamton 1 for 2. Watertown did not have any opportunities in the second period. Black Bears were pretty disciplined. Shots on goal, Binghamton 12, Watertown 9. Totals were Binghamton 25 and Watertown 21. Let's go into the third period.
Well, before I jump into that, there was a lot of back and forth with Jeremy and I because you made the point of, it's great to see Dan Weber get a goal in his first forward start because he thought that, I don't know if it was last season or I think it was 2 seasons ago, he said there was a game in Port Huron where we were down players and he swears up and down that Dan Weber played as a forward position. Well, and that it was whatever game he got whatever game he hurt his shoulder. He's like, it was that game. He played forward. It's not his first time. He's been like on fire about it.
Okay, so he's not necessarily incorrect on this. He did step up and played on a forward line. He took a couple face-offs. I think he still dressed as a defenseman in that game, but he may have stepped up and he actually was on the ice and actually took a couple face-offs. He's remembering it sort of right, sort of wrong. I'd have to probably go back and actually find the game that happened in. And
I was going through all the Port Huron games from past seasons and like trying to look at, who was on the ice when they scored. And like, I was trying to figure it out and I couldn't do it.
But Jeremy, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not necessarily wrong, but you're not 100% right either. He still dressed as a defenseman. This is his first time dressing as a forward, but he took some face-offs in the game. And you know what? We'll ask him this upcoming week here on the Power Play Post Show as we talk to Dan Weber about this crazy weekend that he had. And he let me tell you right now, the dude was stoked. He was happy. I don't know if he was happy about not getting credited for the goal, but maybe sometime in the overnight it'll happen again. I don't know. But let's go into the third period.
Watertown showed some pushback in the final frame, but the outcome was never in doubt as Binghamton closed out a high-scoring victory. The Wolves opened the period scoring at 11:42 when Trevor Newman finished a play from Chase DeBari and Marquise Grant-Mentis, cutting the deficit to 9-2. Binghamton answered quickly. At 15:06, Kyle Steffen netted his third goal of the night, or second, technically, off a setup from Ivan Bondarenko and Nick Swain, restoring the 8-goal cushion and making it 2-10. Again, should have gone to Chicho. Poor Chicho, man.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants that man to get a goal, and they won't even give him an assist.
Yeah, when he deserves it. Exactly.
Just 31 seconds later, at 15:37, Newman struck again for Watertown, scoring his second of the game from Brad Reeder and Hunter Hall to make it 10-3. Late penalties gave the Wolves a lengthy 2-man advantage, and they capitalized with 2:07 remaining, 17:53 mark. Igor Filipov scored on the 5-on-3 power play off passes from Konstantin Chernuk and Stephen Klink, closing the scoring at 10-4.
Yeah, I mean, before I get into the notes, I didn't like the way this period ended for the Black Bears. But again, they were shorthanded, right? So I have to give them a little bit of grace, and I have to say, listen, this was going to happen. They won 10-4. They gave up 3 goals in that third period. I didn't like that. But at the same time, they were playing down Mac Jansen. At this point, he's already off the ice, right? He didn't finish this game. They were already down 1 person. So that means they're down 2 roster spots that could have been on the ice taking a shift or whatever. So you kind of have to give them a little bit of grace for that. And you do because they scored 10 goals. You do because they were down 2 guys. But, man, I hate seeing that because if you look at the goals against the last 4 games, right, 3, 5, 4, 4, you kind of have to think you have to tighten that up when you get to teams like, Port Huron that's coming up again for 2 more games. And then anybody that they face in the playoffs, especially teams that they don't see on a regular basis like Topeka and Blue Ridge. So I'm only bringing it up because it's something that you got to look at. All right. Binghamton's explosive first period proved to be the difference, and the Black Bears skated away with a 10-4 victory, their 12th win of the season against the Watertown Wolves. Black Bears' third period was not great. They gave up too much defensively and gave the Wolves too many good looks in the final 10 minutes of the period. But again, just talked about that. Considering the Black Bears lines and D pairings were different, except for Jesse and Scotty, they played outstanding overall in this game. I think Dan Weber was outstanding as a center. Won a few faceoffs and never a liability for the Black Bears in the game as a third line center. Sadly, we have another issue with either the referees reporting the correct information to the off-ice officials or the off-ice officials not able to handle getting that many goals reported to them because Austin DeRazio's second goal was actually scored by Kyle Steffen. We've covered this multiple times, and Nick Swain's goal was clearly Dan Weber. It feels like it's always an issue in this league. Maybe they will eventually change the stats to be correct, but then again, the league doesn't really care about the integrity of the game enough to make the proper changes. I truly believe that because if they did care about the integrity of the game, these changes would have been made Saturday night or Friday night when they were wrong. I expect the roster to be the same on Saturday, but maybe Wyatt Freelander would be in order, which guess what? It was great. Power play opportunities, Binghamton 0 for 1, Watertown 1 for 4, shots on goal, Binghamton 7, Watertown 11. Again, the Watertown Wolves got a little bit of juice there in the third period. Totals were Binghamton 32 and Watertown 32. All right, let's go through the incorrect stats of the weekend.
I know. I think this is everybody's favorite part is listening to me read these numbers off.
Well, a lot of people do talk about it.
Do we got a lot of them this time?
Especially this whole weekend.
Black Bears scored 6 in the first period, defeat Wolves in Watertown 10-4. Austin DeRazio scored his 17th and 18th goals of the season, assisted on 3 goals for a 5-point night. Tyson Kirkby scored his 14th goal of the season and assisted on another for a 2-point night. Emerson Emery scored his 3rd goal of the season and assisted on another for a 2-point night.
Hold on,
Kyle Steffen.
Taylor, hold on. This is for Emerson Emery.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
I just love it when Ems and Dan Weber just do good things. So I just wanted to throw that in. Continue.
Do you want to do it after Dan Weber's as well? Because I can make sure that
yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
All right. I got you this time. Kyle Steffen scored his 8th and 9th goals of the season, assisted on another for a 3-point night. Jesse Anderson scored his 4th goal of the season. Scott Ramaker scored his 9th goal of the season. Ivan Bonarenko assisted on 5 goals for a 5-point night, which again is insane.
There, I did that for Ivan too because that was awesome.
Yeah, literally getting 5 points on half of the goals is insane to me.
It is.
Dan Weber assisted on 3 goals for a 3-point night.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
Okay, we're not going to make that a regular thing. Keep going.
Nick Swain scored his 13th goal of the season, assisted on 2 goals for a 3-point night. Jacob Shankar scored his 7th goal of the season, assisted on another for a 2-point night. And please note the above stats fall in line with the FPHL website. They have incorrectly credited Austin DeRazio with what should have been Kyle Steffen's first goal, and they incorrectly credited Nick Swain with what should have been Dan Weber's goal. Dominic Tomei saved 38 of 42 shots, earning his 21st win of the season, improving to 21-2-0. The Black Bears record improves to 35-5-1, with 103 points remaining on top of the Empire Division.
thank God we don't have to say any of that anymore. That is it. You can go back and re-listen to it if you want to, fans, but we don't have to talk about it no more. Hopefully, well, there are 3 more games left up in Watertown, and seeing that we played 13 games total. At the end of the season, we'll have played 13 games total up in Watertown. Maybe we need to go back and, well, maybe not you, because you've already painstakingly gone through Friday night's game. Maybe we need to go back and make sure that other assists weren't wrong, because who knows? Maybe Bondarenko had 5 assists in other games that we don't know about because they couldn't get that right. Okay. All right. Everybody.
What's funny is you would have thought, like, because we've played Watertown so much that you'd think that as the season goes on, you'd get sick of it and maybe the scoring would be less, or, as we've said so many times, they were down men, maybe they weren't going to play their best game. But I think the only thing that I noticed out of these 2 games is, how kind of Watertown picked up in the third period.
Yeah.
I think the only reason that happened is because, we were down several players in several spots on the roster, that I think these guys were starting to get tired, but they never let up. I think they just started to get a little bit slower in the third period, and Watertown, capitalized on that a little bit in the third period for both games.
They did.
But still,
But these games are always interesting against Watertown. Isn't that weird? I mean, we've played them so many times and you would think they wouldn't be, but they're still interesting games.
I feel like you get more sick of playing Danbury on repeat than you do against Watertown, because Watertown always seems to be it's always something interesting. It's always something a lot different. Or Danbury, I feel like it's the same kind of
results
outcome almost. Yeah.
Well, remember the first 3 games against Danbury this year? Wasn't it 6-3 victories? I think it was the first 3.
So many games in a row were the same score.
Yeah. And that can kind of definitely get old. All right. Well, coming up next year on the Power Play Post Show, this is the weekend wrap-up show, folks. And so we still have a lot to go over when we talk about Saturday's game as well. But coming up next year on the Power Play Post Show, we're going to go 6 more questions with Nick Swain. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. It's 6 more questions with Nick Swain. Nick, are you ready for these?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Perfect. All right. Number 1, who was the greatest influence on your hockey career?
It's a good question. I'd have to go with just my family, or more specifically brothers. My oldest brother started playing roller hockey, and then me and my middle brother, we just kind of followed suit. And then once we put on our first pair of skates, we fell in love with the game.
Now, was roller hockey in New Jersey?
Yes. Yes, it was in New Jersey. So
there is a roller hockey scene in New Jersey. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, it's actually it's pretty good. In the summer, I play in like an indoor men's league, and then sometimes in the summer playing some like pro tournaments, or like they call it like Division I. So yeah, it's actually pretty big. It's fun too.
Awesome. Number 2, what is your dream job outside of playing hockey? So when your active playing days are done, what do you really want to do?
I think currently what I'm doing right now is pretty cool. It's I work it's a mergers and acquisitions job for Seep Energy Business Consulting. So we help companies, we're sell side advisors, help companies, big companies sell their business. So it's pretty exciting and interesting what we do. So I think just continuing along this path.
Well, you and Scotty Ramakers must have a lot in common then, isn't that? He's very much into the financial business world as well.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of conversations in the locker room. Scotty loves to talk business, so can learn a lot from that guy.
Yeah, absolutely, and he can talk your ear off too. I know. All right, number 3, which artist is on your Spotify playlist the most? Who do you listen to the most these days?
That's a good question. I'm a EDM guy.
Okay.
I'd say you'd call it. So maybe like Avicii or.
Avicii's a popular answer. I've heard that a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Or like Calvin Harris, maybe something along that line. Like I like the big booty mixes as well. Those are good. So.
Awesome. All right. Number 4, this has been the most interesting answer that we get from people. Who is, you remember the Dos Equis commercial, right? Like he's the most interesting man in the world. What I want to know is who is the most interesting guy in the locker room?
In the locker room.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I'd say recently just joined. I'd say Garrett Sarges is the most interesting.
Really? What is it about Garrett that is really interesting? Now, of course, we had him on the show here just a couple weeks ago, and I was actually really surprised with some of the stuff I learned about him. But what makes him so interesting to you?
I think it's the more you talk to him, the more you learn. And the more you get out of him. So I guess it's interesting just some of his life experiences and kind of the way he goes about himself.
Yeah. Awesome. Number 5, what is your favorite candy or sweet?
Jesus, so many.
That's not the right answer. You're a professional athlete.
Yeah, I know. If we're talking candy, probably like Sour Patch Kids or Sweetest Fish. But if we're talking chocolate, like a Reese's Cup, it's definitely.
Have you been tempted to take a piece of candy in the penalty box?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think Q would like that with his workouts and the way he wants people to keep fit. But man, I'll tell you right now, like I always look across when people go into the penalty box. Is anyone going to bite? Is anyone going to take one? Is anyone going to do it? Now, Oliveri's not on the team this year, and Oliveri, he'd just walk in there, grab one, and start chewing away while the game's still going on. But I haven't seen you guys take a bite yet, so I'm kind of waiting for somebody to do that this year.
Yeah, I mean. It's a good selection in there. We just, we're trying to sneak it by, so Q doesn't see it. But.
Yeah, I don't blame you guys. All right, number 6, a zombie outbreak has happened, and you're locked in an ice hockey arena, maybe down in Jackson, New Jersey, or maybe you're locked in an amusement park. But either way, you're locked in an ice hockey arena. Who's the one person, dead or alive, fictional, non-fictional? Anybody that you'd want in there with you?
Oof. A tough question. Maybe like I don't even know. Maybe like Elon Musk or like somebody that's like could maybe build something like a high level engineer that could build something that we could hopefully use to protect ourselves.
Wow. This is how I know you're smarter than I am, because you're thinking like, I need somebody that is smart enough to build something to keep us alive. Because most people don't think that way, but that's a great way to look at this if you think about it.
Yeah, I think that would be the key. You're in an apocalypse. Key is to survive, right? I know
it really is.
Thing, so I need somebody.
Fair enough. Nick, again, thank you so very much for taking the time with us. Good luck the rest of the season, and let's hope you guys complete that three-peat. As it'd be really nice to see that third championship banner go up, and you'd be part of 2 of them, and that'd be pretty amazing. But thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, Bob, thank you for having me. I enjoyed doing it. This was great, and yeah, I think we will do it. So hopefully we'll see you there when it's getting raised.
Absolutely, and we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. We hoped not to keep you for another hour, but we can't guarantee that either. And it's a funny side.
Like to talk.
It's a funny side joke between Taylor and I about how long we go on Sunday nights and or on Wednesday nights, usually when we're recording on Wednesdays. But all right, support the Power Play Post Show by subscribing on YouTube. When you subscribe and like episodes, it signals to YouTube that hockey fans are engaging, which helps recommend the show to more viewers. We keep getting new subscriptions. We definitely appreciate that. As our community grows, we're able to deliver more interviews, insights, and hockey discussions like the last hour that we just did. Subscribing and liking is the most effective and completely free way for you to support the show. Join fellow hockey fans and subscribe on YouTube today, which leads us into Saturday night's game. And, you know, I was really worried that we weren't going to score any goals because we scored so many on Friday. But Taylor, I guess I was wrong.
You thought they used all their goal scores, that they didn't have any left in the bank to cash in on?
A little bit, yes.
That thought never crossed my mind. That was one of the things, was watching the end of Friday's game as, you know, Watertown kind of started to come back a little bit. Jeremy was like, if they come back and win this game, we're not going Saturday.
Well, that would have been a really big comeback in the third period. I mean, they scored 3 goals.
It definitely would have been, and I think he would have been justified in his feeling there. I mean, he wasn't feeling the greatest Friday, so he was a little grumpy in that part of it. But it was just funny to listen to him. He's like, if they don't do it this time. But I definitely never crossed my mind that they weren't going to score. I mean, Watertown seems to be having some troubles, and nonstop troubles. It seems like all season they've had issues. So
yeah, very true.
They've never been on my radar for a problem.
By the way, the next segment is not previewing Watertown. I don't know why that's still in there. That shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, it's all right. I fixed it.
You did?
I wrote Binghamton continues the high scoring streak versus the Watertown Wolves on the road in Watertown.
Perfect.
February 21st, 2026, Watertown Arena, game 42 of the season, Binghamton Black Bears at Watertown Wolves. Despite skating a short bench, Binghamton showed plenty of jump early and rallied after surrendering the opening goal. Watertown struck first on the power play at 4:42 with Jacob Shinkar in the penalty box for tripping. The Wolves' Stephen Klink converted a chance set up by Darian Benchik and Yiffin Michigan to give the Wolves a 1-0 lead. The Black Bears responded with speed midway through the period. At the 11:52 mark, Tyson Kirkby broke in on a rush and finished the play from Cam Cerrone and Sam Holy, tying the game 1-1. Moments later, the physicality ramped up. At 12:07, rookie defenseman Sam Holy dropped the gloves with Hunter Hall, energizing the Binghamton bench. The momentum shift was immediate. Just 21 seconds later, at the 12:28 mark, Ivan Bondarenko drove the net and buried a close-range chance from Kirkby and Jesse Anderson, giving the Black Bears their first lead at 2-1.
I know you were at the game, but those 2 goals by Kirkby and Bondarenko, the way they happened, just loved it. Pure skill. Pure freaking skill by both of those guys, and I loved it. You know, Sam Holy drops the gloves against Hunter Hall, who I thought it was a good fight. I thought it was a good fight between the two, and in the end, it was very like a respectful kind of like first fight for Sam Holy. I think Hunter Hall treated him really well in that fight, and just overall the whole engage. And then literally Bondarenko 21 seconds later scores the goal. It just played out really well for the Black Bears.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked because, you know, Hall and Shankar were definitely going back and forth with each other and causing issues for each other. So I was kind of worried about what was going to happen after they went into the penalty box for the fight. But when they came out, there was nothing but just excitement for both sides of the arena. And, you know, Sam and Hunter, they kind of looked at each other and did the, you know, like acknowledgement of like a good fight. Like it was just, it was very much like they acknowledged one another, and it was just kind of like it was over. And it's something that I feel like we haven't really seen, because, you know, we haven't had fights hardly at all this year.
No.
But even just on the other end of that, where, you know, it was something that was planned, you know, it was a face off, they dropped the gloves type of thing. We haven't had one of those fights in a very long time.
No, I agree.
And my favorite part about the whole thing is, because I didn't videotape long enough to catch it on video, but after it was over, you see Bondarenko turn around and just the smile on his face was like he's got a guy on his team that is like going to stick up for him if something were to happen. And Kirkby I have on my video, and he is just shouting and yelling the entire time that they're going at it. And it was so awesome to see.
And that smile. That's kind of, the smile on Kirkby's face, too, when he turns around, that was priceless. I mean, I think they were very happy with that fight and what they got. Listen, Emery will fight. Shankar will fight. Well, now if you have Holy on that team, oh, wait, hold on. Are we really soft? No, we're not soft, guys. We're not soft. Don't worry about it.
Well, and then, you know, the other interesting fact of, you know, Shankar, he'll drop the gloves, but apparently Holy's been covering Shankar's butt when they were in juniors. And I thought that was just an interesting little stat that I found out.
Yeah. So basically on one of the juniors teams, right? They played together.
Yeah, that's at least, and, you know, kind of my bad for eavesdropping a little bit, but they were talking loud enough for me to hear, is my opinion. But after the game, you know, you can, in Watertown, you can kind of stand out on the outside, and the players, as they're going to the bus, they'll, you know, acknowledge everybody and thank you for coming, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I believe Shankar was talking with his dad, and Holly had come out and they were talking, and it was just a really funny moment to kind of hear that Holly was like telling Shankar before the game that he had stuck up for him in juniors, and he's like, now he's going to go out and do something dumb in this game, and I'm going to have to, you know, answer for it, kind of thing, like an old style, like enforcer kind of role. And it was so funny and sweet the way that he said it.
Yeah.
And it was just a really interesting moment that I kind of caught there, and it was so nice, and it really tells you how small the hockey world is.
It really is.
As much as we talked about it in the beginning of the show, like how big it's growing.
Yeah. At
the same time, it's such a small knit community.
Tell the fans also the interaction between Mac Jansen and your daughter.
So as we were like standing outside waiting for the players to come, it was super slippery. Like there was so much ice, and my daughter had a blanket wrapped around her, and I kept telling her, I was like, you need to like stand still, or, you know, just be careful as you're walking. Because I'm like, it's so slippery, you're going to fall. And well, she fell. Well, she fell twice, but the first time she gets up and she's almost in tears because she's crying that her blanket is now ruined because it has snow on it. And Jansen's hobbling out with his little crutch that he's got. And I was like, it's just snow. It's not ruined. And as he's walking by, he's looking at my daughter, and he goes, it's all right. I don't like the snow either.
I thought that was sweet and everything. He didn't have to say anything, and he did. I thought that was pretty cool.
Shankar did try so hard to get a knuckles and a high five from her, but it was after she fell the second time, and she was not having it. And he was like, it's okay. I wouldn't want to touch me either. But he did try so hard to get it, and she's not a big fan of strangers, so you kind of really got to get to know her for her to open up. But it was a very sweet moment. The guys on the team, they're just so nice. And Jeremy and I had this argument because I forgot that we were part of the Boosters Club, you know, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And during that time, Dan Weber always sat with us at the table, and he's such a nice guy. He always talked to everybody. And as we're leaving the game in Watertown, I was like, I think Wyatt is the only person on the team who knows me by name. You know, because unless I'm playing like in, you know, standing in the players' corner with you, and, you know, we're talking to people and stuff. I just, you know, it's just kind of like after the game, everybody's kind of like in a rush. They want to get on the bus. They want to get home type of thing. But Wyatt, as he's walking by, looks at me and goes, hey, Taylor, how's it going?
I'm pretty confident
there. My mind that Weber would know my name.
I am pretty confident that there are other guys on the team that listen to the show, that have listened to the show, or have seen you or read some of the Impact Players Report. Like Vana knows your name. So don't worry about that. Vana knows your name. All right. First period notes from the Saturday's game. Scratches were CJ Hapworth, Mac Jansen, CJ Stubbs, Gavin Yates, Sirota still in Peoria. starters were, again, the same as the night before, except for the goaltender, Garrett Sargis, Kyle Steffen, Nick Swain, Jesse Anderson, Scott Romakers, and Wyatt Friedlander got a start. So to all the fans out there that are freaking out that he's not getting starts, here you go. He gets a start. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, he gave up 4 goals. Tomei gave up 4 goals. So, same, wash. But good for Wyatt to get in the game. That's really all that matters. And honestly, Taylor, before we carry on, he made some good saves. There were some things that he did on Saturday night, flashing the glove, making some great catches with his glove. He had to do some things Saturday night with his stick. I thought he played a good game. You can't blame the goaltenders for what happened in the third period because the team was just so shorthanded. But I thought both goaltenders, I thought Wyatt played as good as Dominic did throughout the game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that statement. I think there was one goal that really stuck out to me. I can't remember exactly when it happened, but it was a glove save, and it was, one of those flashy things, and it was just one of those moments where everybody was like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah,
like it caught you by surprise, and you're just like, "That was an amazing save."
Yeah,
and at the same time, Lenz actually had a couple of really good ones where you had to give it to him because you could not believe that he would make a save like that, especially after how the first night went and how he seemed to do all right in this game for the most part.
Yeah,
but
Mac Jansen was a scratch. Pretty sure he did not finish on Friday night. Hopefully this is nothing serious. The Wolves strike fast on the game's first power play. That was Darian's 4th goal against his former team. I actually went back and checked that. I thought it was more than that, but that was his 4th goal against the Black Bears. The Black Bears get their first power play opportunity, 8:55 mark of the first period, with a holding the stick call assessed to Watertown's marquee Grant Mentis. And with 8:16 left to go in the first, Stephen Kling came in hard on Wyatt in a breakaway. Both he and Wyatt hit the post. The Black Bears took exception to that, which is understandable. Shortly after, the last sequence led to Tyson Kirkby's breakaway goal of the game. So one thing happened, and then it led to the Tyson Kirkby goal. Then immediately after, the rookie defenseman Sam Holy drops the gloves with Hunter Hall. Sam got some great right hands in. I would call the fight a draw, though. I really would, because I think Hunter Hall finished pretty well. I think Holy started the fight pretty well, and then Hall finished it. 21 seconds after the fight, Ivan Bondarenko scored the Black Bears' second goal of the game. It was just poetic how that happened. With the Black Bears shorthanded tonight, even more so than last night, I liked what I saw in the first period. Played well defensively and offensively. Offensively still dominant. Power play opportunities, Binghamton was 0 for 1. Watertown was 1 for 1. They did have to score that goal on the power play, which they continued to do throughout the game. Shots on goal, Binghamton 17, but Watertown only 7. Let's go into the second.
Binghamton blew the game open in the middle frame, and I think they heard Trish Freelander, a.k.a. Wyatt's mom, asking them to score 6 goals, and they were trying. And I think they did hear her, because I think her, they could feel the blood pressure going up and down, because she wanted some room to breathe, as she put it. She wanted them to go out there and get 6 goals in that middle period so she could breathe a little bit better.
Being a goaltender,
they tried.
Being a goaltender's parent is not easy. I think they go through more stress than the goaltender itself does.
I would agree with that statement. I'm pretty sure she stood the entire time, which does not surprise me one bit. In Watertown, it's pretty easy. You can either stand around by the glass, or they have where you go up the stairs to go to your seats. There's a whole standing section along the top there. And I think that's where she was most of the time. I don't know if she was pacing or not. I didn't, constantly look back, but I'm pretty sure she was standing the whole time. But they did try to score 6. They scored 4 times in the opening half of the period, and weathering a critical penalty kill to stay firmly in control. The Black Bears needed only 1 minute and 19 seconds to extend the lead. Austin DeRazio finished a setup from Tyson Kirkby to make it 3-1.
We can confirm that was a good goal for DeRazio.
On the very next shift at 1:48, Bondarenko struck himself, wiring home his second of the night from Shankar and Tyson Kirkby, quickly pushing the advantage to 4-1. Midway through the period, the offense kept rolling. At 10:53, Garrett Sargis scored his 7th of the season off a feed from DeRazio and Nick Swain. Just 50 seconds later, these really seem to just come in bunches.
They do.
It's like they start one thing, and it's just like it gets the ball rolling, and it just
with these
would
guys,
hate to be in the way of them. Just 50 seconds later, at 11:43, Scott Ramakers added another from Swain and Jesse Anderson, stretching the margin to 6-1. Watertown received a primary opportunity earlier in the period when Binghamton took simultaneous penalties at 7:02, giving the Wolves a full 2-minute 5-on-3 advantage. Goaltender Wyatt Friedlander stood tall, facing only 3 shots, but stopping each one, and the penalty kill preserved the commanding lead.
Yeah, I just want to say, you were there for the game. I was watching it. That 5-on-3 penalty kill was so good. Not by just Wyatt Friedlander, but also the penalty killers that were on the ice, because Watertown was getting shots on Freelander. He was making good saves, but then near the end of the penalty kill, they were able to move the puck out of the zone. Just a really great job. 5-on-3. I wanted to really kind of stress that.
Yeah, I know at one point when we saw that there was 2 penalties at the same time, and everyone's like, oh no, a 5-on-3, a full 2-minute 5-on-3.
Yep.
It definitely makes everybody nervous, because even with the best penalty kill, going 5-on-3 when you have, a disadvantage already with, limited roster spots, it's not a great thing, and it's not a good feeling. But they did a phenomenal job, which again shouldn't shock anybody. But it was a great thing to see, and they did a wonderful job killing that penalty. The Wolves finally broke through in the late in the period with Bondarenko in the box for high sticking. Hunter Hall converted the power play at 16:48 from Darian Benchik, and Stephen Klink cutting the deficit to 6-2 heading into the intermission.
A nice start for the Black Bears in the second period with 2 goals in the first 2 minutes. Black Bears were tagged with 2 penalties at the 7:02 mark. Period. Bondarenko for hooking, Durazio for slashing, giving the Wolves a full 2-minute 5-on-3. Freelander only saw 3 shots in the goal, but made the saves he needed to. And the Black Bears penalty kill was huge, not allowing the Wolves back in the game. Again, the Black Bears score in bunches, as Taylor already said. The first 2 goals in the period were separated by 29 seconds, and then the Sarges and Ramakers goal were separated only by 50 seconds. Black Bears tagged with a few penalties in the period, but considering the amount of players out, who is there playing more, and who is there are playing more minutes. They're getting more minutes on the ice, and the Black Bears are comfortable on the kill, so not to worry about. Thought the Wolves' only 2 goals were on the man advantage at this point. Third period is about making plays. Simple. Keeping some pressure on the Wolves. Do not need a repeat of the night before. Power play opportunities, Binghamton 0 for 1. Watertown 1 for 3. Shots on goal, Binghamton 14, Watertown 11. Totals at this point through 40 minutes of play was Binghamton 31 and Watertown 18.
Watertown came out pushing in the final frame and struck quickly on the power play, with Nick Swain serving a carryover interference minor. Stephen Klink scored just 31 seconds into the period off feeds from Darian Benchik and Yefim Mishkin, trimming the Black Bears' lead to 6-3. Binghamton answered midway through the period at 5:12. Jacob Shankar finished a setup from Dan Weber and Kyle Steffen, restoring the 4-goal cushion at 7-3. The Wolves refused to go quietly. At 11:07, Yefim Mishkin scored at even strength from Igor Filipov and Adam Zinnerman, cutting the deficit to 7-4. The Black Bears captain made sure momentum did not swing any further. At 12:59, Tyson Kirkby buried a feed from Ivan Bondarenko and Austin Durazio, regaining the 4-goal advantage. Man, they really wanted to keep that 4-goal cushion.
Yeah.
Binghamton capped off the weekend scoring at 17:15 when Garrett Sargis netted his 2nd goal of the game from Nick Swain and Weber, sealing a 9-4 victory.
Yeah, with a lot of penalty killers out of the lineup, not going to worry about the 3 power play goals given up, as the Black Bears have dominated all of the even strength time tonight. Liked all the depth scoring this weekend. Lots of guys got points with 19 goals scored over the weekend. As we talked about before, there were 35 assists, 54 points total for the Black Bears this weekend, which is great. With Freelander not playing in the last month, it's been a month since he played. Good to see him come in with some confidence and making some pretty impressive saves. He saw a few quality chances in each period from the Wolves for sure. Sam Hawley already has a fight in his first point this weekend, like how I didn't notice him that much. And that's huge, right? If you are noticing a defenseman, it's either because he's scoring goals or he's getting beat. He didn't get beat that much. He played the role as a stay-at-home defenseman very well. Next weekend, I would expect C.J. Stubbs and Mac Jansen back in the lineup. Dan Weaver played well this weekend as a center for the Black Bears. We want to highlight that again. This was a smart move with so many forwards out. Weaves is a rock star in my book, and he showed how solid he is. And let's talk about this for 1 second. You could have moved Weber up into the center role, or you could have moved up D'Orazio, who obviously has some more offensive numbers. I think that if you're putting him, a defenseman, into the center role on the third line, making it somebody who's more of a stay-at-home defenseman than an offensive forward, I think was the smart move. Now, what did it show us? It showed Dan could move the puck around, dish it off, get it to places where people can score goals. He played that role pretty good. And of course he scored a goal himself, which we won't talk about anymore, but he did score that goal. If you take D'Orazio and put him on the third line, I don't think his skill set fits well enough in that position where Dan Weber's obviously did. This is the reason why Brant Sherwood and Coach Q are coaches and fans are not. I think, because I did see that. Well, why don't we put D'Orazio up there? Why not put D'Orazio in that position? Because there are other things that go into that. I thought it was a great move. I wanted to highlight it again. And I also wanted to say that leaving D'Orazio where he was, leading the defensive core, so to speak, offensively, was the right place. Dan Weber going up there never turned into a liability, number one. And number two, made some great plays and obviously did that. So what are your thoughts on putting D'Orazio there or Dan Weber?
You kind of talked about it a little bit, because when you had told me what the lineup was going to be, I was, shocked that, because I would have just automatically assumed that they would take Ramekers and put him up as a forward, because he's gone back and forth all season long.
True.
So that was my initial thought was, well, how come they didn't do that? And so it was definitely shocking to see that they took Weber and put him up there, just because it's not something that we've seen from Weber. But I don't think I would have changed it. And I was going to kind of actually make a funny comment, just because, obviously Weber did score a goal and he wasn't credited with it. And in my mind, I was like, could you imagine if we switched Weber and put Laslin in there and Laslin finally got a goal and then they didn't give him the credit? Could you imagine the uproar from that?
Oh yeah. I think people would have showed up to Don Kernan's business offices, which I think is the basement in his home.
Would have been rioting.
Oh my gosh, they would have been rioting if Chichu was in that position and scored a goal. Oh, Taylor, that's evil. That's evil. That's evil for you even to think about that or say that. But my gosh, that would have been bad. Yeah. Oh, well, hopefully if the guys are listening to this, they're laughing at that, because that is an evil thing to think of, because Cheech really wants that first goal. He really does. So.
Well, and just think about it. That just goes to show how important it is to get these stats right.
Yeah.
Because if that truly did happen and it was Chicho that got the goal, how upsetting would that have been for everybody?
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, this just adds to the point that they need to correct the stats and have them put in correctly, or make sure they're correct before finalizing it, if that's the case.
I agree. But I thought we were past that. Weren't we past that? And then you brought it back up again.
You brought up switching out defensemen, and you only talked about D'Orazio. And in my mind, I immediately went, well, what if it was Chicho and he didn't get the goal?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. All right, the PK will be better next week. So will the power play. Power play opportunities: Binghamton 0 for 0, Watertown 0 for 2. I have to go back and analyze this weekend's power play and penalty kill, but I know it's just going to be obscured. You almost have to put an asterisk in because of the people that were out. Shots on goal: Binghamton 20, Watertown 12. Totals were Binghamton 51. We haven't hit 51 in a while, or 50 in a while. Watertown was 30. Let's get through these stats.
Everybody's favorite part. Black Bears stack up 9 goals and a 9-4 victory in Watertown. Ivan Bondarenko scored his 13th and 14th goals of the season, assisted on another for a 3-point night. Tyson Kirkby scored his 15th and 16th goals of the season, assisted on 3 goals for a 5-point night.
Hold on.
Garrett Sargis.
Oh, I'm not in the right place. Oh.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
Gotta give it up for Tyson on that one.
Which, speaking of the two claps and Ric Flair, I had brought it up to a couple people that I was sitting next to that you didn't believe me that they did that in the away games, and they were kind of shocked by it. And they're like, we do everything. Like they do the goal dance, they do the claps, they everything, man. They're constantly, they're always cheering, they're always loud and proud there.
Please, there are stuff that happens in our own arena that I don't notice because I am so busy doing what I do. I don't even notice. It's like, oh yeah, did you see that person? Like, I didn't know Kristen danced in front of me, basically, because she sits right across from me. I didn't know she danced, and then she told me. And then when I hear the right music that she dances to, then I look up and I see her doing things that I can't do because I'm a 53-year-old white guy that just can't dance. And she continues to tell me that I probably could learn how. And I continue to tell her, no, it's not going to happen.
I think she dances to almost everything there, honestly. She's a very good hype person. She's very, like, always happy, always upbeat. She's a fun one to be around, for sure.
Should we have her be our hype person when we do appearances out in public? She could be our hype person?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think she'd do a great job at it, honestly.
All right, back to the stats.
Garrett Sargis scored his 7th and 8th goals of the season. Austin Durazio scored his 19th goal of the season, assisted on 2 others for a 3-point night. Scott Ramaker scored his 10th goal of the season. Jacob Shankar scored his 8th goal of the season and assisted on another for a 2-point night. Nick Swain assisted on 2 goals. Dan Weber assisted on 3 goals. Kyle Steffen assisted on 2 goals. Wyatt Friedlander saved 26 of 30 shots, earning his 3rd win of the season and improving to 3-0-1. The Black Bears record improves to 36-5-1 with 106 points, staying atop the Empire Division, inching closer to a division title.
Yeah, okay. So bringing that up, this is courtesy of Gary Ryan, the Magic Numbers. To clinch the division, they need 18 points. So if you think about it, if they get 6 regulation wins, the next 6 wins, all in regulation, they will get 18 points. Now, if they say win the next 3 and the bottom team that can catch us loses 3 games, that is also considered to be 3 points per game. If they lose in regulation and we win in regulation 3-3, boom, that will be 18 points. That right there would clinch it. So it could happen in the next few games. But to clinch the division, it's 18 points. To clinch home ice advantage throughout the playoffs, it's 33 points. 11 wins and our remaining 14 games closes it out. Our schedule plus our current record so far versus each team. Thanks to Gary for doing this and posting this on the Binghamton Black Bears fan page. We have 7 more games against the Danbury Hat-Tricks, 3 home, 4 away. We are 9-0 against them. It feels like he's working for us because this is the kind of stuff that we would put together for this show. We have 3 more games against the Watertown Wolves. All 3 are away. We're 13-1 against them. Actually, now we're 13-1. That's right. 2 games against Indiana. We're 4-0 against them. Both of those are away games. And we have 2 more home games against the Port Huron Prowlers, and we're 5-1 against them. But coming up on the weekend docket is a home-and-home series against the Danbury Hat-Tricks. I guess the big question is, are you guys going to the away game on Friday?
Well, I'm pretty sure that Jeremy bought tickets today. So
so you guys are going to be there.
I'm pretty sure, because he asked me about if there was a certain area I wanted to sit in. Because I mean, we usually sit in the same section, but he was like, "Do you want to sit a little bit higher than where we normally sit?" Because I think they were all kind of bought out where we normally sit, or like the end of where we normally sit. And I was like, it doesn't matter to me. You know, Danbury's kind of always the same. I feel like we get treated the same every time we're in there. It's, you know, although the last time that we went was the time that that rowdy section had walked out halfway, or
Section
not even
102.
halfway, the beginning of the 2nd period. So
yeah,
Watertown, it's a fun arena. The only thing that I would say, if anybody is going for the first time, bring warm clothes because it is the coldest arena. And Danbury has, if you've ever watched a documentary on Danbury, there's a reason that they purposely have their arena that cold. And it's because they're trying to get in the heads of the away team. And I think it works.
Well, as you've mentioned,
obviously it doesn't work. We've won against them, but it's very cold in there.
Well, and as you've mentioned, you've seen actually Brant Sherwood wearing gloves in that arena. So
and Q, they were both wearing gloves the last time they were there. It's like, it's almost cold enough that you can see your breath. I normally don't wear sweatshirts in arenas. Like if we get to our arena, like it's so cold on the walk there, and then I get inside and the sweatshirt's got to come off. Like it's warm enough in our arena that I cannot wear the sweatshirt. And Danbury's the complete opposite. I'm always like, I always feel like I need the like hot hands and the feet warmers and stuff.
Yeah. So fans, coming up this week, we will have a show for you on Thursday morning. We will have another contest for the 11x14 player poster. So be excited for that. We have 2 winners from last week, which is pretty cool. I think Patrick Zuck, if I remember correctly. And who was the second winner?
Yep. And Jen.
Gypsy Jen, who is part of the Booster Club. They both won posters. They'll be able to get those this upcoming Saturday if they so choose. Did they pick the players?
Patrick, he's told me that it was very hard to choose, but they picked Shane Carr.
Ooh.
And Jen hasn't given me one yet because she told me she didn't know how she wanted to do it and that she thought she might just put all their names in a hat and pick one that way.
All right. So so Shane Carr is going to have his second poster printed for him, so that's pretty cool as well. Mm-hmm. But we'll have another winner this upcoming week, and the only rule I have is you got to take a picture with Taylor so I can put it with the Facebook group pictures that I have of the poster winners, which will be very cool. Now, I will not be at Saturday's game. I am going to be away doing some family stuff with my family down in Reading, Pennsylvania. So I will be down there. I will be watching the games. I will be reporting on the games. I just won't be at the game on Saturday. And on Friday, I'll be traveling. So that'll be that. But we'll have Impact Players reports. We'll have reports after the day after, especially on Sunday. I'll definitely get some stuff written on Sunday. And Taylor will tell me on Sunday how everything went, and which will be very, very cool. So that I think that's it. I think we covered everything, right? It only took us an hour and 35 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can go over the goals that didn't happen again if you really want.
No, I'm good with that. With that being said, the Power Play Post Show is available on all major podcast platforms. I'm going to mute her in a second, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on your favorite app, and don't forget to subscribe. Join the conversation on Facebook. Search for Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. Looking for everything Binghamton hockey? Visit binghamtonhockey.net. Thank you to Rob Lupolis, our MC, John Petitucci, our musical director, and from the Binghamton Black Bears forward, Nick Swain, for answering 6 more questions. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch, although if he muted me, probably can't even hear that.
No, I did not mute you. And we'll talk to you.
I just had to throw that in there.
And we'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.